Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Sellers.
Good evening. I am Miles P. McLaughlin.
And I'm Chrissy Raffensperger.
And we are sans Scott Herzog tonight, unfortunately. Poor guy's a little down under the weather, which is really threw a really big wrench in the opening of this show. Tonight, we have a special show lined up for you tonight. We are going to be interviewing Stargate Atlantis' very own David Hewlett in preparation for his appearance at Shore Leave at the Convention Center in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania at the Wyndham Resort on July 10th. And welcome, Mr. Hewlett.
Hello, sir.
As always, I have to start every chat by having myself muted. That's generally a requirement, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah.
It really, really is.
I'm a little early. Am I okay? I don't know what
That
to...
is perfectly fine.
What is it? If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late?
I love it.
That's the way. That's the way. Yeah. How are you all?
Very good.
Great. Thrilled to
We
meet
are
you, sir.
phenomenal.
Oh God, pleasure indeed. I've been hearing you guys chatter away. I've been listening up on a couple of things, and you've got your man. I thought it was just like TV sci-fi. I didn't realize you guys were going into the books. You're going into the whole thing. You got the whole yeah.
We are. We're a diverse group of people. So, like, some of us like just movies. Some of us like books and movies. Some of us like books, movies, games. So.
I just don't know how you read so much. I just can't get. It takes me so long to get through books these days. Like it's extraordinary.
That's all these guys.
Yes, I've always been like a hot knife through butter when it comes to books.
Yeah, my wife's the same. My wife could do that too.
Yeah, the amazing thing is I'm dyslexic, so you would think that I wouldn't be able to read as fast as I do.
Oh, you've had to work harder. That's why.
That and like if you watch the dyslexic's eyes, like it goes all over the page. So I think what I do and one of the reasons where how I read so fast is I don't read it line by line. I will literally like read whole paragraphs jumbled up together and somehow my brain puts it all back into coherent sentences. And so I read almost like 3-4 lines at a time, and that's how I read so fast.
So you got the speed reading edition, the plug-in. You got the extra plug-in.
I guess so, because I think that's how people are supposed to speed read, but like my brain just did it naturally because it didn't have a choice.
I have to look everything up. It drives me insane. Like this, if there's a word that I'm even slightly not sure about how it's being used or how it could be used, I'll look it up. Like my wife jokes, I'm like a completionist. Like I have to, everything has to be completed before I move on to the next thing. And of course, I never get anything done.
Well, I mean, we all have a little perfectionist in us. It's okay.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we got a few questions we're gonna throw your way.
Of course, all right. Yeah. Science fiction and diners. I mean, they're two of my favorite things. I don't know what else. It's like you got it all. If you guys were serving burgers, this would be the best thing ever.
There's an idea. How can we make that into?
You could have like a burger. Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to do sort of do like live events at diners of some sort, and then all day breakfast.
We really should.
We should.
Oh well. I have to promise you that we meet it at an actual diner and do it actually there. That's what we'll do next time.
Well, then you're fueled by coffee, and it just goes like I thought. The diner is just like I remember when I first started acting. One of the first things I said that my life missions. This is setting your bar really low, by the way. I was like, as long as I can go out for breakfast and have coffee whenever I feel like it, I feel like I've succeeded in acting. As it turns out, I've gone back to that now. So it's basically just, as long as I can afford the diner, as long as I can afford to eat.
You know what, though? Like, if you set the bar real low.
Exactly.
It sets you up for happiness. Like, really.
It's kind of a McKay thing, too, where you just sort of like basically go like, it's impossible. Oh, look, I did it.
Exactly.
Like it's the way to do it. Yeah.
Books earlier. The name of our show came out of a book. I'm sure you've probably read a little Douglas Adams.
Oh my God, yeah. You know, was it? Let me guess. Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Is that
Yes.
the? Yeah, fantastic.
And then
Oh,
too short to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast.
brilliant, brilliant. That makes sense. That makes total sense. Yeah. That my God, Douglas Adams is a genius. I mean,
Hi.
you know, the amount of time I spent trying to get through the first stage of the Commodore 64 text-based Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I was like, aspirin? Who would have thought of aspirin? Come on, he's got a hangover. Like, you know. Yeah, so that's how old that's you. I'm sure way too far back for you guys. I'm sure, but
I mean,
Oh.
for some of us, but maybe not all
What,
of
the
us.
Commodore 64?
oh yeah, that was my baby. That was my
I learned how to program in basic language on that
basic.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, did you have the magazines where you had to like
Yes.
like
Back and forth.
hunting and pecking? Yeah, that was me.
Uh-huh.
That was me. Yeah. And I never got it right. I always got it. Eventually, I went like, "Oh, screw this," and we ended up upgrading to the. Well, first it was the cassette, and then then we got the floppy. I actually had the floppy for it, which was like speedy stuff. You could go away for 2 days, come back, and it'd have loaded.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember buying my Radio Shack out of the 5 and 3/4 inch floppy drives. Oh, floppy
Yeah.
disks. Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
miss Radio Shack. Radio
I
Shack
do
used to have
too.
the best stuff. I used to get all my electronics kits there. I had both. They had little workbooks on electronics that I used to do. Love that
Yes.
stuff. Like just
Well,
you know.
It got me when my grandparents got me when I was, I don't know, 12. One of those like 200 or 301 kits.
In
that
one
had all the little
electronics kit.
components.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And all
Get
that-
this though. Did you go as far as taking apart that as well?
Oh yeah. Everything
Yeah,
came
of course.
apart. You know,
Yeah.
the radio, my alarm clock, you name it. Everything got
Oh
ripped
yeah.
apart.
Yeah. My poor parents. I saved up. I remember saving up for a Merlin. Remember the Merlin? The little. It was a game. It was the most simple game, but it was basically like 6 LEDs, and it would just give you patterns that you had to match. Yeah. And it was called Merlin, and it was going to be your best friend because it played one game. I saved up for it. I bought it, and by the end of the first day, it was in pieces. And I was trying to figure out because I loved the buttons. I thought the buttons were I love these sort of plasticky buttons, and I was like, how does that work? And then my parents were like, what? Wait, you've ruined it. I was like, or have I?
Like,
Listen, if you saved up, you bought it.
I bought it. That's true. Yeah.
That's what you
was
want to
it the
do with
smaller
it?
version of
Go
the
for it.
Simon? Remember the Simon? I'm just
Oh, Simon. Yes, Simon. I feel like Simon was later, but maybe no. Simon must have been. It must have been earlier because it could have used little lights in that, right? This was
Yeah.
the first one I'd seen with LEDs, and I think they sort of billed it as electronic, which to me was like it's like saying robot. You know.
Absolutely. All right, Miles, you want to start it off here?
I'm really good at getting people off tangent.
That's all right. It's great.
Yeah.
We love
I'm
it.
having fun, but I know your time is limited. I want to respect that.
I
But,
got time.
Well, great. Well, that's great. I'll read you a short intro, and we're just gonna fire some questions. And we're not married to it. If we go off on a rabbit trail or anything like that, that's fine. We want to promote. You're going to be at shore leave next
Yeah.
month,
God, it's been
And-
forever. Yeah.
and if there's any like project that you want to plug, we want to do that tonight too as well.
Great. Fantastic. Look
Awesome.
forward to it.
So I'll read you a short intro. We'll get going. Sci-fi fans, tonight we get to hang out with one of the cast from one of my favorite sci-fi shows, that being Stargate Atlantis. We get to talk to the man who brought the character of Dr. Rodney McKay to life, Mr. David Hewlett. Mr. Hewlett's IMDb resume is an impressive list of genre shows and movies since the mid-'80s. Not only does Mr. Hewlett have an impressive list of acting credits, but he has also directed and written. Mr. Hewlett, welcome and thank you for taking time to talk with us on the Sci-Fi Diner podcast.
Oh my God, you kidding? This is great. It's fantastic. I enjoy any opportunity to geek out about stuff. So
And this is a thrill for us. We love all things Stargate and get to talk to you. It's good. This is awesome. But going to other sci-fi genres and doing some research for this interview, I discovered you're a Doctor Who fan.
Oh my God, yeah. That's what got me into this. Like I was ready to become a Time Lord, and then I found out they were pretend. So I was like, great. If you get paid to pretend to be a Time Lord, I'm in. And that was it. That was basically I was like, how do I do that? From about age I don't know, 4 on. I was like, that was my goal. And I ran into Vincenzo at school, Vincenzo Natali, and we were making little movies together. And he was very good, as it turned out. And so yeah, it was pre. We were sort of bemoaning the fact the other day that we were in a pre-YouTube world, because you would make short films and everyone was like, what are you gonna do with a short film? No one's gonna see a short film. So you'd have to like take them around and try to get people to show them and stuff. And we were just like, oh God, could you imagine if we'd started in the age of YouTube, where you could build an audience as you go along, as you make these movies and embarrass yourself in various ways on film. But yeah, that was yeah. Doctor Who though was the thing that did it for me though. That was absolutely. It was I was John Pertwee to Tom Baker, and then Tom Baker. I was like, oh my God, that's the one. I mean, like look, my robot's dressed as him. I mean, like I've got like scarves and. I have Magic the Gathering cards with Tom Baker on and Pertwee on and stuff. That's it's full on Doctor Who nerd. Not so much the new one, because I think I'm too old for that. Like I feel like when you grow up with something, you want the wobbly monsters and everyone with the silly accents, and you know the new one I really enjoyed elements of, but I didn't sort of it's hard to lose yourself in it at age 1,000 than it is when you're 5 or 6 and everything that's happening is real, so.
I could not agree with that statement anymore.
Also, CG is just, I kind of like, I love CG when I don't know it's there. As soon as you see CG, for some reason, it just takes me out of the whole thing. And there's something about the rubbery monsters, as bad as they were, even though you could sort of see Davros's feet wobbling as he tried to maneuver his little half a Dalek around. For some reason that stuff resonated with me more. Maybe because I was 4 and didn't know any better. So.
It's just the stories being told. I don't know. I mean, it was easy to get lost in those stories, and you forgive the imperfections of, the effects back then.
There was something else about it that I loved, which was that because it only showed on PBS here, it was on like a Buffalo channel. And because it was an English half hour, so a full half hour, they were like, oh crap, now what do we do? Like, I don't know, where do we put that? Because we need like interstitials so they stuck a sci-fi writer or a science professor or somebody after, and they would talk about the potential science links between the science fiction, and they were always quite tenuous, because Doctor Who, some stuff was fantastic, was brilliant. I mean, I remember like learning that was the first time I learned about like mycelium and the potential of mycelium as a building tool, as food, as all sorts of stuff. Living spaceships and things. They would sort of focus on the potentially legitimate science behind stuff, and so for me, it bound the two together. So I didn't see any difference between trying to build a sonic screwdriver and my Radio Shack's electronics kits. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's
Dave's like, yeah, I've been there.
I've been there.
Yeah, I may still be there. Yeah, I think I am. Well, look at me. I'm like, Baz is like, why is your room full of toys? That's my son. Yeah, it's like, they're not toys, they're robots.
Exactly. So you had mentioned about like making movies earlier, and you produced, wrote, and directed A Dog's Breakfast.
Yeah, that was an experiment. I wanted to direct an episode of Stargate. That's what I was really hoping to do. Because after you've done it like a number of seasons, you're like, I feel like I know this world. Like I feel like I could and you sort of know where to put the camera in certain sets because you've been there a million times and that kind of stuff. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that. It's more complicated with a TV show because there's so many producers, there's so many people to go through, and it was untenable. But I thought I better make a movie just to see if I could do that. And originally we were going to make a short film. And then I was like, well, what are you going to do with a short film? I'm paying for it. Well, let's just make a feature. And so we sort of rustled up the crew when they were not, when they were on their hiatus. The blackmail project, as it was called, because it's like you could not do it, but then you have to deal with David all next season. So a lot of the crew were nice enough, or maybe smarmy enough to be a part of it. No, they did it. They loved it. It was nice. It was really nice, and it was just to figure it out for myself. And then we were sort of pleasantly surprised because my wife wanted to produce, and and I wanted to try directing, and so we literally sort of put it together like a demo reel almost. But it's still my favorite thing. I mean, I've directed stuff since then, and it's all been a disaster. That was the one that I really enjoyed, because you could own all of the mistakes, right? Because basically you're paying the bills, so it's like, and it's the only thing. It's so funny because the only thing you could do. You can only do that while you're shooting a television show. Like there's no other way to really do that. You've got access to the crew, you've got access to some money because you're working. And I thought, like, what can I use? Well, I've got my sister. She's good. I'll get her involved. I also really was hoping that she'd be on Stargate, which turned out it actually worked out. My dog, which also cheap, works for food. And then and Paul McGillian, who's also cheap and works for food. So it was just really friends and family, and threw them together into a script, and it was just glorious. It was just wonderful. It was like being a 13-year-old again, making little movies with my friends in high school. So yeah, it's great. Yeah. Great, my favorite.
Have you ever thought of releasing those short films on YouTube now?
Vincenzo has some of them. Like some of them have come out. He did a bunch. He was so smart because he did I just did an interview. They're re-releasing a bunch of his older stuff. They've had to move it from film to digital because we're getting old. But we just did an interview about this. But I was just saying how even as a kid, 13, 14, before Cube, before Splice, before any of this stuff, he still did storyboards. He still did all the work. It was like working with a more professional. Like I was slightly disappointed when I got to the professional world and found out that people didn't necessarily do all that work, and that wasn't necessarily the way how everyone worked. So yeah, there's a few things. I think he's got. I don't know. I'm not sure if you could release some of the stuff. We the first thing we worked together on was a film called Exam, which ends with me shooting my math teacher during an exam and then running into traffic and getting run over. So nowadays that would be a cry for help. Back then it was like, oh, look at those industrious little kids making a movie, So yeah.
Oh,
yeah. But it's like this was pre-school shootings. This was pre. I mean, I'm sure they'd happened, but in some way, shape, or form. But it was certainly, it was such a naive. And also, it's Toronto. Toronto's like a training city for. It sort of has a little bit of crime and a little bit of a subway and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like it's a wonderful place to grow up, especially if you've got a bunch of filmmaking friends, because there's just so many places to shoot. And, yeah,
it was a great place to visit. I know that much. When I was up
good.
Back. Yeah, loved Toronto.
I always tell people to go to Vancouver. It's like it's just prettier. I mean, Toronto's like a clean New York City, or maybe that's really all it's got going for it. Some nice food,
People
nice
are a lot nicer.
Yeah, that's true. But it's expensive now. It's got we've been in Toronto for a while now, and it's I'm sort of I keep going like, but I'm not by the beach. Why does this cost so much? It wasn't as much in Santa Monica. I'm complaining all the time.
So when we first saw Dr. McKay on Stargate SG-1, were you aware at that time that we'd be seeing you again?
No. It's like it's kind of like an actor dream. I remember like watching Happy Days and seeing Robin Williams show up and do his little Mork from Mork on an episode, and then it turned into a TV show, and I was like, wow, you got to be a pretty great actor for that to happen. And that's not what happened with me, but in my mind, I like to think that it was like I did an episode, and then I got another episode, and then I'm on a show. It was it's kind of a dream, because you always think like there's more to this character than just this one episode. Even when you're supposed to be lying on the ground riddled with bullets. You're like, well, what if they do a prequel? But with McKay, with McKay, it was really odd. I think I credit Amanda for this. I think because I mean, obviously, Brad and Coop for casting me in the first place. But when I got to set, Amanda was just so open to being the straight man in that stuff. Like I think there's a lot of actors who would be like, hey, this is my turf, and I'm the funny one. I'm the lead here. But she was so good about just going like, all right, kid, you go. I mean, kid, she's probably younger than I am, but I was new to the whole thing, and I said, I said, look, I've watched a few episodes, but is there like a Bible? You know, sometimes they have these series Bibles, and they're like, oh, you want a series Bible? Sure. And this driver shows up like, you know, 6 hours later with like this much paper, and they'd printed out Gateworld, the glossary,
Wow.
from the website. I was like, dude, you could have given me the freaking URL. I'm a nerd. I don't paper. What is this? You know, but I think it was sort of like their point was like, oh, really? You think this backstory? Yeah, check it out. So I got a sense of just how, you know, how rich and the depths of the lore you could plumb on this stuff. But the thing that really sort of made it click for me was I moved down to LA. I was, you know, I've been recognized once down there, and it was one of those where they go, "Oh my God, I love your movies." Oh, you're not Tarantino. Never mind. That was the first time I was recognized, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is it. I'm in LA. Someone's recognized me," and they're like, "Oh, no, you're not. Never mind." But the first time I was truly recognized in LA, I was in a restaurant, and this guy came up and he said, "You did that show with that blonde actress." And I was like, "Yes, I did." As did just about every single other person in this room. And he goes, no, the one with the, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then he said, like, science fiction. I was like, Stargate? And he goes, "Oh, you were on Stargate?" I was like, "Well, that's what you're telling me." I mean, like, and we had a nice little chat about it. And I was like, wow, this is like, either that's a really crazy coincidence, and that was that was sort of when I realized just the kind of reach and the kind of like amazing fandom this Stargate had. I mean, and they're kind of a cool bunch because you never. It's like they're all in like Predator outfits, invisible Predator outfits that you never know where they're going to come from. They could be a doctor, they could be either bringing you the food, or they could be paying for it, or they could be running the restaurant, or it's just these odd collection of people who it really sort of spoke to at the right time and the right place, and it's I love it. I like it's sort of it's been my little sort of passport to meeting real geniuses, the real science, to satisfy the science part of my Doctor Who and science fiction love. Because there's just been a lot of really smart people who've either watched the show or had relatives who did. There's always a nerd who knows a nerd who can teach you something. So it's been amazing.
That episode with Nye was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was well.
The scientists.
That's what gives me a lot of confidence about the new show, is because Martin Garrow is show running and writing it. So he's the guy who wrote that episode. He's the guy who came up with all that stuff. Most of my favorite episodes were Garrow episodes. So he's got a great sense of humor. He's a really smart guy. And he's got a nice visual sense. He's good. He's a good director as well. So I'm sort of kind of confident, certainly more confident about what might happen with that. And of course I call him all the time and say, "You know, it'd be great, McKay." So
of course.
Weasel my way in, even if they have to wheel me in a chair. You know what I mean? Like,
so I've thought, I wanted to ask you about the new show, but I've thought of ways, depending on what they want to do with it, how to bring your character back, some of these other characters back.
I would love that. Like, the problem with Stargate was never the ideas. The problem, what I love about it is that it gets people. It makes people creative in a weird way. They start a lot of the fan fiction stuff. A lot of these people have spun off careers out of their love of this Stargate stuff. The problem was just always the sheer number of people involved, and production companies and studios that sold to other studios, and it's just kind of nice that it's sort of flopped into Amazon's lap, and they seem to be taking it seriously. I mean, they got some amazing talent involved. You guys probably know more than I do about it, because like I say, I'm not unfortunately, I'm not involved yet. I keep saying yet in the hopes that
we can push that.
I can see a situation where McKay and Shepard had to put themselves in stasis, and they get lost for a few decades, and then they're found and revived, or something like that.
As long as I can be frozen like Han Solo, like that, then I'm fine. Yeah, well, I just don't think McKay wouldn't go down easy in a
No.
cryo thing. Yeah.
He had to be forced in the cryo chamber or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Chrissy, what were you saying?
I was gonna say that I was just thinking about that. I was like, I wonder if they would do it like Han Solo.
Well, I think that's what McKay would like to be. You know, it's like McKay, like myself, I think, dreamt of being Han Solo, like, you know, and ended up being C-3PO, which I would say both about McKay and myself at this point. Where, you know, I thought I was going to be the cool bounty hunter. I turned out to be the neurotic android, basically. You know, so Marvin. It's like, there you go, back to Marvin. And
With most adults, but maybe that's just because I'm a therapist, so I get a lot of neurotic people.
you're hanging with the wrong people. That's the problem. Yeah.
We've been trying to tell her that for a while.
I'm hanging with you. What does that say about you,
Yeah.
sir?
That's exactly what I mean.
I'm a neurotic android. Yeah.
Let's unpack that later, Kelly.
Oh.
She's got the power of psychology on her.
Oh,
side,
yeah.
So
And she brings it out. It's fun.
Oh yeah, good.
She psychoanalyzes on.
I would totally do that too. I'd be judging all the time.
I don't judge. I just get really curious,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
which is an advantage in this job because like I feel like you can't judge, or if you do, you would be very good at it. But if like you're constantly just curious about people, that's a real strength.
I think
Which is why I love.
it's funny. It's one of the courses that my son took an interest in. We always joke about it because I never even finished high school. I was the most awful learner that ever existed. But that said, in my own life, to me, I've read books on this stuff because I'm just fascinated by how our crazy, brains work. It's extraordinary to me, And then we don't know. It's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. So something I see many writers try to do on other shows is take an unlikable character and through a process, they often not just make him likable, they make him lovable. I find that definitely true with Rodney McKay. Although Rodney had grown, he was still always Rodney. From your end of things, how did you help make that possible?
God, it's such a weird thing. It's funny when he first showed up on Stargate. I was like, this is an odious little man, but he's an odious little man who I've worked with. Like I had an IT job for a while. I decided to quit acting and go into IT, and then I realized that you get paid more to pretend to be smart than you do to actually be smart. And I just found that there were these people out there who were so good at not so necessarily at what they do, but certainly had a knowledge that was so far beyond everyone else. They were incapable of dealing with people, and some of them were just not good people, and some of them were probably good people who just didn't have any way of expressing it properly, had those social skills. So there's a bit of that, and also the writers of Stargate there's a slight McKayisms to both Brad and to Coop. And maybe Garrow as well a little bit, but there's just a little bit of being a little too smart for your own good, and so I always used to joke that basically McKay was like a combination of the two, but I always found that with McKay you were working backwards. You found what he ended up as, and I felt like Atlantis you sort of see why he's that way. You keep getting these little insights into his life that maybe made him untrusting of people or having to push himself more than he would normally. But also, he's not a good person. That's the funny thing about it is that he's a very flawed person. I mean, especially, oh my God, with his treatment of women. I mean, for talking about a misogynist. But I think a lot of these very smart male, science types didn't have any interaction with women. And I think what I kind of liked about Atlantis was he started to learn that his place in this kind of family that he'd been forced to be a part of. So I hope he didn't change too much. I think he just learned to trust his team more, I think is what happened. I think if you took him out of that again, and when you you see him in SG-1, he's back to being a jerk again. You know what I mean? Like he's just an arrogant little, guy on his own again. So I feel like I feel like it was more that they changed him than like their interactions changed him than he changed himself. But maybe I'm reading too much into it. You know, I didn't have time to think. I had so many lines. I just had to learn them.
No,
Well,
that seems to make sense.
I will say, as a therapist who works through relationships to enact change, I would agree that relationships is where we do our most change and most healing. So it's
Oh,
good that you have
good.
that.
So that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I love when I'm watching a show and watching characters develop and like it matches actual psychology. It bothers me to no end when I'm watching a show and I'm like, that's not how people work. That's not how
Yeah.
that would go down. That is not even remotely psychologically what we're doing here. Like,
Mm.
I will suspend my disbelief. You went and tell me that this thing is a Hujima watch it, and it
Oh
can do
yeah.
all these
Yeah.
just magical science has made it happen. I'm there. But the moment humans stop doing human things is when I'm like, nope, you've
Yeah.
lost me.
Yeah. And
So
there's a tendency. Yeah, there's a tendency, especially with science fiction, to sort of strong arm characters into doing what's right for the plot, especially in science fiction, I would say. And I think what was so great about Stargate was yes, it was science fiction. There's some wonderful science fiction stuff in there, but it all depended on those characters. I mean, going back to SG-1, that was always sort of character centric in its approach to stuff. And there was always that wonderful, it's like when Jeannie my sister shows up for the first time, that kind of like, wow, okay, so there's more going on than I thought. And that's, to me, that's every sci-fi nerd's dream, is that I was right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there is more. And I think that was what they really managed to capture really, really well with the Stargate stuff.
yeah, I always enjoyed watching the Stargate because of the characters and because of the arcs that we see, which is SGA is actually Miles's favorite. Um
Ah,
and it might be you touched on a little bit. Can you make any other comments on the announcement that Stargate is coming back and expected to debut in 2027?
yeah.
Are
I
you
mean, other than I would love to be in it. No, I honestly, I think probably the fan base knows more than I do. Martin was very cool and contacted everybody. I know, yeah, and as everyone says, and you would lie anyways. But in truthfulness, I completely truth. He got in touch with everybody just before the announcement to let us know that it was happening, which I thought was really sort of as good people. I mean, that's good. That was very much appreciated. I think because it is weird to be a part of something and then not a part of it anymore. It's a bit. I imagine it's a bit like hearing about what an ex-wife is doing or something. I mean, it's a bit like you're so separate from it, and it can feel it feels kind of weird because you have a sort of a possession. There's a certain possessive nature to this stuff. I mean, I found that even with Universe, I found there was a lot of sort of back and forth things that about with the new people and the old people I made a joke about they're eating my sandwiches and then that was taken like I didn't think they were worthy of my sandwiches and I was like, have you met me? It's all about sandwiches. So there's just that kind of stuff. But I
No, you
don't.
can have just not my sandwiches.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. My. I'll never forget Jewel State. We're at breakfast one day, and I had a sandwich. I said, "Oh, these are so good. I could eat them all day." And she goes, "You don't just have to order one." And I was like, "What? You're right. Can I have two plates?" That was it. I was like, their breakfast budget went out the window. Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about the new Stargate other than what I'm hearing through Gate World and everyone. But I do know this that Garrow is one of my favorite, funniest of the Stargate writers, and I think he's taking the job very seriously, and I love his approach so far. He's got some. I mean, they've got the was it the visual effects guys from Andor, and they've got the set designer from Wicked. I mean, it's going to be huge. Yeah. So
From
yeah, I
Wicked.
mean,
That's good.
I know. Like, and that's just stuff they've announced, and I've now moved into basically fan mode where I just I just read all the news and go, ooh, that's cool, So that's where I'm at this point.
So
I hope the fans would like to see folks like you and others back. So I hope they'll make good use of
Oh
you and your
God, I hope
folks.
so. Well, and even just going back to like, I mean, it's all very good and well for me to be like, I want to be in it, but the reality is, there's that whole SG1 thing that was going a long time without me. So I'd love to see I'd love to see Amanda directing stuff. Actually, that'd be
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
As well as in it, obviously. But she's just got, I mean, man, she's got some directing chops. I like it's so great to see her out there, and I mean, every second thing I see shooting up here has got Amanda on the roster. It's amazing, and I've never worked with her, so I think we need to have words.
Well, then, I mean,
Yeah.
it should just happen. Even if you just do like a couple guest episodes.
I may just show up and eat their sandwiches.
You know what? You really should. You
Yeah.
should just be like, listen, I'm not here to even actually do the acting. I just want the sandwiches.
Oh, hey, you in this? Just like that.
They should just invite you to the sandwiches. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I don't even need an invite. Just tell me where they're shooting.
I'll show up and get the sandwiches. That's all I'm here for.
Yeah. I'm all about the food.
So long as you can get diner food and coffee, you're happy. So
That's it. I'm very tummy centric. I think I am. Yeah. It's very much so. Yeah.
So fans have the opportunity to see you and fellow Atlantis cast member Rachel Luttrell in just a little over a month now at Shore Leave in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on July 10th at the Wyndham Resort and Convention Center. Have you ever been to this area before?
I've been to Shore Leave before, but I don't think it was the same place. And it was so long ago. The kid was a baby, and there was a trouble with the car seat. Oh, thank God he's old enough not to need that stuff anymore. What a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
You're always sticky, and you're always carrying like 1,000 things with you, and it's just those two of my most hated things. He's 18 now, but so it's kind of fun. We just hang out and watch horror movies together. No, I don't think I've been to this. It's not the same. Hasn't been the same event.
No,
the whole time.
Same
right?
event, new location. Yeah, the
Right.
Delta Hotel in Hunt Valley, Maryland, was where it used to be.
Right.
And that is now a giant pile of rubble as we speak.
Oh,
They
really?
tore that down. Yeah, and a few years back they moved up here, right in our backyard in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's great. So do you guys,
for us.
because you've done interviews from there, a bunch of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you guys go every year? That's like your yearly pilgrimage?
Yeah, that's our.
We do.
That's great.
Especially since we don't have an excuse to not go. I mean, we all live in Lancaster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's
you
very
guys,
quick.
are you guys a part of the con now? Like, are you?
We have a nice relationship with them. They have been kind enough. If celebrity guests like yourself are amenable to maybe doing an interview, they've opened that up to us. And then what we
We got to talk while we're there too, for sure.
Oh,
You gotta do, like,
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much more fun live too, especially with a diner. But I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, there are plenty of diners nearby. I'm
you
sure
go.
we could figure something out. I'm just saying.
Great. I'm in.
I'll be
We'll
happy
do a
to
breakfast.
lunch. Or breakfast. We got some great restaurants in that.
Oh, great. Okay.
Now you got me
Yeah.
thinking of where the best sandwiches are.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's what I do. Completely off topic. So well, that's
No.
neat though. So it's just kind of nice to have a local convention. It's nice to have a local convention. We have Toronto I'm not sure if it's called Comic-Con now, Toronto something or another. And weirdly, I've never been invited, and it's just too big for me. Like it's not. They're always like announcing some new movie or something. I now go my yearly pilgrimage now, other than going to European Space Agency for their open day stuff, is Montreal for Fantasia Film Festival, because it's all sort of Asian action, horror, crazy science fiction, weird shorts, and it's just a bunch of really huge nerdy film fans, and you just all sit in a giant theater and watch movie after movie after movie, and some of them you'll never see again, because why would you want to watch them in the first place? And sometimes it's and sometimes they're just like re-releases, and sometimes they're just brand new stuff that's like, actually I think Undertone came out of there. I think that one of the latest. I don't know if you guys are big horror fans, but I've kind of come around to horror now. I like horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've done a couple like psychological horrors. It's gonna sound so weird. I really like watching old like 1950s and 60s Japanese
Ooh.
black and white horrors.
Oh wow, they do some creepy stuff.
They do, and I like it.
You guys should watch, or if you're into horror, I mean, especially you, Chrissy, because it's podcasting. It's a podcasting horror. Undertones
Oh,
is basically a podcasting horror, and it's all done basically with sound, and it's really creepy. It's like I was, yeah,
sounds
if
good.
see it at the theater if you can, but I think it's probably too late for that. But just turn off the lights and up the volume, and it's really creepy.
Yeah, I think usually in like October we try to find at least one like science fiction-y kind of scary movie to like make Miles watch. Uh,
Well, this is one of those ones where you like when you're like listening to music at night or whatever, then you sort of go like, what is that in the? It's that kind of thing, and it's like,
oh,
but it's a feature film like that. So you're just like the whole time you're just like, oh please God, oh please, and it, yeah, it's not perfect because very few horrors are. They have a tendency to never stick the ending because you have to explain everything. Um, but
that's the
I
worst.
but it's kind of a fun one. Definitely a fun one, So
Okay.
there you
I
go.
mean,
Off
here's
topic again.
if you have time that weekend, we'll take you out to breakfast.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. You don't have to take me out. I'll see you for brekkie. I love my breakfast. I'm gonna need my breakfast before I go and talk to thousands of Stargate fans who
Well,
have questions that I won't
what
remember
kind of
the answer
breakfast
to.
do you want? Do you want like anything? Do you like crepes? Do you like
When
breakfast sandwiches?
I just did, well, not just the last sort of location film I did where I had to fly out. We were in Winnipeg. I spent every waking hour that I wasn't on set at Denny's. So
Okay.
I don't have my palate is not particularly sophisticated. It's just
Well,
I just like my breakfast convenient and and
Well,
yeah.
Lancaster
they're like
County has great smorgasbords.
Oh
It's a
great.
little
Oh
it's a
fantastic.
little tourist trap. So there's some great ones minutes away from the venue.
Oh perfect. Yeah, that's part of it too, is just being easy. Like I just like yeah, yeah.
are you
I mean,
thinking about
so
taking him to Chimney Hill?
Hmm?
I was thinking Miller's.
Miller's, okay.
Miller's is a great has so I
Nice.
mean it's also in the heart of the country, so it's we the tourists come to Lancaster County to see what the Amish how they live and stuff.
Well, I'm a tourist too, so it's perfect. Although I have
Okay,
played Amish. I have played Amish as well, so there you go. I don't think I have.
really, I'd have to go
Oh,
look at your IMDb credits to see what it is.
to find that one.
But yeah, if you have time and if
That'd
it
be
works
great.
out,
Yeah.
we'd be glad to take you out to breakfast. And
I'm going to try to come in a little bit early because I just like a little time to acclimatize anyways. I don't like sort of just landing and going, hi, So we'll have to conspire on that when I get my dates.
we'll check if it's convenient for you, and if it works out, great. But if you're too busy, I understand. But be great to
That's great. No, I got to eat breakfast anyways, so it's perfect.
yeah, have a good breakfast and talk and geek out on things we love.
Yeah, fantastic, perfect. It's a date,
All
a
right,
breakfast date.
wait. We have one more question for you before
I'm amazing you've managed. It's amazing you've managed to stay even slightly on track, given it's like it's like interviewing a distracted poodle.
Listen, you have to remember that he has to deal with Dave, myself, and Scott, all who have ADHD, who can't stay on topic to save our lives. So he has
All
been
right.
wrangling us for years.
This is why I fit in so well. There you go. That's it.
Oh no, man! It's been good. But so what's next for you? What can we look forward to in the future? Is there a project that you're in we could be plugging for you and that we could look forward to?
There's a couple of things I had a very interesting conversation with my son because I got a role on the new Boys spinoff, and
Oh,
I don't know if you've watched Boys at all, but Boys is it's for grown-ups. In fact, my son said it's too grown up for me, and I think he might be right. We watched the first season, and he's a big fan of the show and watches it all the time. So this part came up, and I said, "Look, I got this part. I know it's a favorite show of yours. I know it's not I mean, it's a spin-off, obviously not the same show. But I said, you'll be watching it. Your friends will be watching it. There's some stuff that I'll have to do that's you probably don't want to see. And he went, oh God, no. Oh God, no, Dad, no, no, no. So I was like, fine. I called the agent. Done. We're not doing it. And then over the weekend, he sort of like was thinking about it. He came up to me and he goes, you know what, Dad? I think it's actually better. I think it's cooler if you do it. And I was like, oh, okay, great, good. So I called the agent, and he's like, yeah, it's fine. I never called them anyways. It's fine. You're in. And then now my son is threatening to host freaking watch parties with his friends. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, some of the stuff in this show is, so it's an interest. It's not a huge role, but it's it's for the first, there's a nice arc in the first,
Awesome.
the first season.
I mean,
And then,
listen, this episode you might want to skip, sir.
oh my God, there's a few. Yeah. Man, they do stuff that I did not think television was ever going to go there. And it certainly does. And then back again. Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I understand. I think probably if I was younger, I would probably enjoy it more because it does seem to pushes parents' buttons. I mean, like it's pretty risque stuff. But again, it's not really my thing. Weirdly, the thing I'm working on right now is this silly little thing called, I shouldn't say that, I get in trouble for that, but Mistletoe Murders, which is so much freaking fun because it's basically Angela Lansbury. It's always Christmas. It's like Murder, She Wrote, except it's always Christmas and people keep dying in this small town. And it's done. It's a Hallmark thing. Like, it's so like Christmas chintzy kind of silliness, but I am having so much freaking fun because I just play this famous Ray character who's just like the font of all underground knowledge, and he's always on the move and it's just so much freaking fun. And the cast is wonderful, the showrunner is an old Stargate writer as well, so that's really fun. And his wife does the producing, and it's just a great bunch of people. I mean, like, Vought was amazing, but it's like the difference between 4 days to shoot a scene with 1,000 extras versus, can you come in for half a day and just say all your lines really quickly because we don't have a budget to do the full day. So it's just like, it's the old school. I love the old kind of indie approach to stuff. I mean, they're not as cheap as that, but it does feel, you could definitely feel that there is a schedule that one needs to keep. And I don't know. I think that's what keeps you on your toes. It keeps you, there's something about, even just going from the old days, making things with my friends in high school, where you've got film for one take, so you do it in one take. And as an actor, I think there's something kind of fun about that. It's a bit like free climbing in the acting world, because you're like, okay, if I screw up, then they're gonna have to cut to someone else. So gotta make sure you get it right.
Well, I guess it's a bit like being a stage actor, because when you're performing, like you only have one take in front of the audience, so you better have it down.
I should love theater more, but I found theater frustrating because I was like, oh, I wish they'd filmed that part of that one and then that part of that one. Like, it was like, on a film set, if this time, which there almost never is, but at least you get a chance at them capturing something. And also, what I love about film is that, to me, it's the little happy accidents that make things the most. I learned that most on Dog's Breakfast, where things would go wrong, and if you roll with it, either it's a complete disaster or something magical happens because the camera just does stuff that I don't understand and sees things in people's faces that aren't there, or dogs' faces for that matter. And I just found it so sort of weirdly freeing to know that all the stuff that I hate about myself, all my stupid little quirks and the things I wave my hands too much or whatever, all the stuff that I would try to stop myself from doing, those are the things that make a character real, right? I mean, that's the stuff that to me, when I watch a film, I go like, ooh, that's good, because it's almost like they don't even think that they're doing stuff. When you see people acting, I feel like it falls apart for me. It's a bit like CG. But when you just see them reacting to stuff, it's like, oh, it's magical. I love it. Just love it.
Well, that's one of the things I'm actually trained in doing, is because I do a lot of like family work, so I'm trained to watch all like the tiniest micro expressions with people, and then like see how they're responding to one another, to then like say, oh, did you notice this? And hey, you seem like this. And so, yeah, when you're watching films, it's almost like training your brain to do the very thing I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because I think most people in their real life are so inside their own heads anyways. They're so unaware of stuff going
Yeah.
on. And I mean, as an actor, one of the fun things I used to love doing is well, I still love it, is people watching, is watching, just seeing what people are doing. And I used to love reality shows because you just saw people acting normally. Now you can't do that because everyone's a performer. Everyone's like an influencer. Everyone, we were in Cannes recently. My wife goes for the festival, for the market every year, and I avoid it. And but the majority of people there, I think, were probably influencers, and they're all filming themselves at Cannes as opposed to Cannes. And I feel like we've sort of lost this ability to, it's rare that you get to watch people in the wild anymore because everyone's so conscious of these cameras. And what happens when we live in a world where the camera is so ubiquitous that there's no difference between when you're on camera and off camera? I mean, it's kind
It's
of
really
weird.
It's really interesting you say that because one of the things we do in my practice is we actually get permission to film the families during the sessions, and then I watch them with my supervisor. And I had, kind of like early on a couple years ago, and then I took a break from it and then came back to it. It's so interesting that you say that because I pull up the camera and I do notice a bigger difference now when I pull it out than before. And it
Mm.
takes me, I'm going to say like a good 5 sessions before people kind of just start to forget that it's there. And I have to pull it out every
Mm.
single time because otherwise it is like they're acting. And I literally have this one person who's like stares at the camera the whole time, or like they like talk and then look at the camera. And I'm like, what are we doing?
I think
Just
we're so used to it now. Like it's the difference. Like when I first started in this industry, it was all film, obviously, and to get an agent, you had a black and white photograph that you took around to people, and you invited them to come and see a play that you were in or whatever. And I was lucky because I'd be making films with my friends that I had a demo reel before people even knew what a demo reel was. I mean, it was and that demo reel was on a giant VHS, but it was but it was such a not like filming was a novelty. So when you're walking down the street and you see a camera, people would stop and what are you doing? And there's still a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as it used to be. I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm sort of curious to see where movie stars go in the future because what do you do when anyone could put themselves on film? Like, you know what I mean? Like you could turn your iPhone on yourself now and put on a filter and you look like you're making a Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, it's going to take some really interesting personalities, and I think hopefully some interesting looking and interesting quirky people are gonna sort of take to the center, are gonna sort of get people's attention now. I hope, so.
well, yeah. Of course, now people are using like AI to do stuff, and that's a whole another can of worms.
What's your thought on that one? Because I'll let you answer first.
I so So on one hand, you have someone who's very creative, right? If you have someone who wrote a script, right? And they can't afford the actors and everything else, and they're able to go to an AI and then get their film produced.
Mm.
Great. So you have someone who's a writer, but then you have actors and actresses who then didn't have the opportunity to do that. And then you have
Mm.
companies literally stealing people's likenesses and like projecting it on. And so it's we're in a really, I can see arguments for various sides
Mm.
because on one hand, you have a lot of gatekeeping, right?
Mm.
You yourself, like, well, I wanted to do this thing, but unless you had an afternoon in the middle of a show or people were willing to do this, and a
Right.
dog who's cooperative as opposed to like, if you had had a cat, that whole film would not have happened because the cat
Yeah.
would not have
That's
done
true.
what needed
Yeah,
the
my
cat to
current
do.
dog, forget it. She thinks she's a dog. She thinks she's a cat, so she'd be useless.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
So, but if you have an AI to create the dog, well, then maybe it's
Mm.
okay. So I can see where it could potentially put some really creative things out there. At the same time, I also see where it can be used to really be exploitive and harmful to the industry as a
Mm.
whole.
It's funny. I'm obviously a total nerd. I love technology. I've always loved technology. I mean, I was the bleeding edge of everything all the time. Like all of my money would go on new gadgets. I had a Newton. Like I had like the first, like I would buy the most ridiculous things. And I tend to be a tech optimist about stuff. what I found with the AI stuff, it reminds me of being a drummer in high school in a band. And at the same time, it was the 80s. And I loved all the 80s music. And I was like, I was an official member of the Duran Duran fan club. And when you had to mail away for that. And drum machines came out. And I was a drummer. And everyone's like, well, there you go. You're done. We don't need drummers anymore. And I was like, I guess they're right, but I like drumming. I'm not going to stop doing it. And then synthesizers came out, and all of a sudden, no, we don't need an orchestra anymore. You can just do it all with a. Well, I just went to see Beck like a few months ago, and it was Beck with an orchestra. And there were two drummers, and there were multiple instruments. I don't even know what they're called. And the opening act whistled. Like literally was just did whistling. That was what she did. It was amazing. And I'm like, that's like 50 years later or 40 years later, whatever it is, that drum machine, yes, it can do all of that. We don't want to watch drum machines. We don't want to watch people standing in front of synthesizers. We want to connect with artists doing stuff. So I feel like if the AI can, as you say, if a great artist with AI is still going to be a great artist. It's just got AI as the tools. And the slop stuff, the crap. I mean, unfortunately for me, I quite enjoy making the crap. So like all those wonderful, silly sci-fi Saturday night movies, I think those are probably gone. I don't see how they can afford to do, those kind of effects and bring in actors on the way up or on the way down or wherever you are in your career at the time, often bouncing around a bit. I think those kind of films, because the quality isn't the focus on that. It's just trying to get something out that'll sort of like titillate people for who want some sci-fi and monsters or whatever. I think that stuff is probably going to get that's human slop that can be made by AI. So I think that's going to take a certainly monetary. It's going to take jobs away from people for sure, huge numbers of people, I'm sure. The question is, where do they go? Are they now able to go make their own movies? Are they able to are we? I think you mentioned it, and I thought that was an interesting point. Was the cost cutting side of it is what worries me about it. Is where you go like, oh, we don't need people, we'll just put AI in it. But I think as long as people don't respond to it, I mean, I don't want to see a movie. Like, I don't want to see a movie between two people having an emotional conversation, knowing that they're both AI. It's not going to do anything for me. It doesn't,
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you. So there are apps now. I could get this app, and hypothetically speaking, I could go on the set of Stargate Atlantis in some kind of costume, and I could stand next to you. I could program the app, get selfies with you and your fellow castmates, and it looks cool and all like that. But then I realized, wait a minute, these people didn't get consent. I mean, do this,
and I wasn't there.
And you weren't
know what I
there.
mean?
But
I think that's the thing is I think that organic connection. I think that's why people have gone to records, back to vinyl. Why people collect DVDs and stuff. It's all available digitally. It's just not as much fun. It's not as much. You don't have that same kind of like physical connection to it. And you're talking to someone who, again, I think digital is the way to go. I hate the inconvenience of having to changing albums. I've been there. I don't need to do that again. But yeah, no, I agree. I guess the concern is, I think right now, like everything in the world, it's very binary. I feel like we're either you hate AI and you want nothing to do with it, and if you hear that AI might be involved in something, you don't even want to see it. Or there's people who think that AI is the only way to go and everyone's going to be replaced and we don't need doctors and we don't need actors or directors or anything. AI will just do it all for us. Again, I think is just silliness as well. We need to sort of find that way of using it as a tool in a smart way. Like, I mean, it's a drum machine. Great. If a drum machine can get you to get that album made so you can now go on tour with a real band, fantastic. If someone can make a little AI movie that they can take to a network studio executive who may or may not still exist because they may be replaced by AI, but they can look at it and go like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's make a movie. Fantastic. You know what I mean? That makes sense to me. But I think there's going to be job losses. There's no way around it. I know there's work that I'm not getting now that I'm sure is, that I'm sure would potentially could have gone to me or my friends or people in this industry that don't exist anymore. I mean,
see more regulation coming in because if folks like yourself, if somebody takes your likeness or one of your other castmates' likeness without your permission and compensating you, you know,
It's
that
tough, isn't it? I feel like it's too late for me in a way. Like I feel sorry for people who are coming into this early on. I feel like I'm on my way out. I'm gonna get a pig and a tractor and live on a farm. But for people coming into the industry, I think it's gonna be tough. I mean, I feel like if someone wants to recreate me, with AI, they can do it now. There's so much footage. I've been doing this since I was 16. Well, there's probably stuff going back even earlier than that because of the little films. So someone can recreate me. I feel like I have no, I mean, I can be as angry as I want about that. I don't think it's gonna, I don't think I could stop it anyways. I don't know how people would. And if they do, then they go, oh, then they add a dimple or they add something to make it look, so it's not you. I mean, I think in a way, what's is not not so much scary that they're going to take your likeness. I worry about that for hacking and phishing and all sorts of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to recreating a person, I think what's almost scarier now is we're going to have they're going to be movie stars that don't exist. There's going to be movie stars that are a little bit of George Clooney and the quirkiness of Christopher Walken and the abs of Jason Momoa. I mean, I think we're going to have these weird combinations.
Yeah, there's actually there's been for years now, since at least the early 2000s, there was this pop star in Japan that was basically an AI like singer.
Yeah.
Obviously not as sophisticated as they have today, but I remember watching it and having discussions in my psych class about
Mhm.
eventually we're gonna see more of this. What does this mean for our society and for people's mental health and how that affects us?
Mm.
And I'm reading about AI psychosis and people getting into
Oh.
relationships with AI and killing themselves because of their relationship with
Mhm.
AI. So it's not just a creativity, it's also human relationships and
Oh
the
yeah, no,
loneliness.
this is yeah. I think you're right. I think it's funny. We're focused on the film. I'm focused on the film industry because obviously that's my industry. But I see it in even when I go. I try to read a little newsletter on a regular basis, just science and technology stuff, just stuff that I found interesting that week. And more as I go to research this stuff now, first thing that comes up is a bad AI video that's obviously being revoiced from someone else's content somewhere. And it's bad enough now that you can tell. It's getting to the point where it takes a little while for me to go, oh, wait a second, this is AI. I mean, and eventually I guess it's going to get to a point where I won't even know the difference. I guess, my fear is more like, what happens when you have no idea? Like what happens when you get to a point when I can make a movie where I go like I want the cast of TNG in a Star Wars movie that is a prequel to Endgame, and you can put all that together, and it's seamless, and you don't see a difference. I mean, I still think people are going to want to go and see movies that people have made because I think I don't think people come home and want to create their own movie. They want to come home and sit down and kick back and watch something and experience like our entire civilization is based on storytelling. Like I think that may be what distinguishes us from other animals is our ability to share a story and thus bring in more and more people and communicate with more people than you could ever communicate with otherwise. It's like I think it's the most singly sort of human tool that we have.
Well, yeah, the ancient cave paintings depict stories on them. They're 40,000 years old. They
Yeah.
found they recently, or maybe not so recently now, but they recreated a 6,000-year-old ballad of Gilgamesh. And you can watch it
Wow.
on YouTube of this guy playing an ancient lyre and singing. And it's a story, it's a ballad. And you can make connections between that ballad 6,000 years ago and music that is being made now.
Yeah. Yeah.
See the
Well,
the
AI
thread.
music too, another one, but that's yeah. Yeah.
Well, and so the combination of human creativity and the storytelling is, like you said, is very ancient and old to people. That's how we learn, that's how we connect, that's how we heal and grow
Mm.
and learn.
And yeah, I mean, and that's how we connect with people. Like it's like if you're a good storyteller, there's always someone to buy you a pint or what or breakfast. I mean, I think there's definitely it's definitely a talent that is that is useful in our sort of civilization. I think God, I can't remember what the other thing I was going to say was there's definitely. I feel like we've been through this before. I remember when the internet, there was internet addiction. I remember video games. Oh my God, video game addiction. The Dungeons and Dragons, people were killing each other because they thought they were really in dungeons. I feel like there's always a kind of a doomer perspective to this as well. I like to think of the positive of this stuff. I know there's going to be negative because there always is. I mean, there's in any kind of innovation, this you're going to lose people. Not necessarily, hopefully not with lives. Although God, that's already happening too. Look at the drones. I mean, like there's like it's. I feel like this is such a seismic change that I'm not like again, not the doomer, not the not the. I'm not sort of like saying we're all going to be wonderful because the AI is going to look after and do everything for us. But I do think we have to realize that things are going to change considerably in our world. I mean, the Stargates that we did, we touched on AI in the most sort of naive, sort of game-like way. I'm fascinated to see what kind of things we can explore going forward now because this has really changed. We did one of the first things we did with Stargate. Sorry, and stop me if I'm babbling on too much.
Oh no, I'm enjoying this. This is good.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite topics. One of the first things that I did with AI was a guy from Google, wonderful. He's called like the Wizard of AI. He's Lawrence Moroney, amazing guy. He was a Stargate fan. He took all of the scripts, dumped them into a model. This is before there was a whole sort of uproar about this stuff. When it was just a nerd having fun, threw all this stuff in and had it spit out scripts. And then he said, it'd be fun. Like, what if we actually got some of the cast together and we actually did these things? So we did it, and they were hilarious. They were laughably bad, weird non sequiturs, the odd things now and again where you go like, "Ooh, that's almost pretty good," And the difference between that and where we are now, where like I say, I write a newsletter. I don't need to write the newsletter anymore. I do because I like doing it. That's the part. It's the drumming. You know what I mean? I like the drumming. I like the writing process, and I like researching stuff and learning about it in a way that I feel that when I could type out what I'm learning, that it's a better way of cementing my learning. It's the way my
There's
brain
a lot of
works.
research behind that. So yes.
Oh, good. Okay, well there you go. So it certainly works for me. But the reality is, every so often I stop and go like, is there any point in doing this? Because I could type a prompt and get exactly just as good, probably better jokes and probably more accurate. But it's not me. But that's a real dilemma though, because at some point you're going to go like, who's got time to read? What do you do when it can write a really good script and no one knows that AI wrote it? There was something that happened with AI that I thought was fascinating. Was that when I first saw it, and I saw like Mid-Journey creating images, and I saw this awkward program trying to spit out scripts, I suddenly went, well, wait a second, aren't we just a product of everything we know? Like, I mean, like if I wrote a program that could look at an AI generated image and give a percentage of a cent to every single artist that has influenced it in some way, shape, or form, then a lot of artists would be very happy. They'd be like, great, that's fantastic. But what happens when I put their art through it? What percentages are going to other artists for that? Because no one creates in a vacuum. Everyone is inspired by the artists that came before them, by the writers that came before them, the shows, the movies, all that kind of stuff. I mean, are we the same thing? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you, like I was just saying about the Ballad of Gilgamesh, you can see the traces of that through music. You can see the Symphony of the Planets directly influence the music that you get in Star Wars. Like almost, like you almost feel like it got lifted out and just like remixed, and that's what that composer spit out. Now, did that composer sit down and say, I'm going to take the planets and just infringe on that and spit it out? Probably not. I just watched a video about how there seems to be, it's called like the Gen Z melody, and it's the same melody that pops up in all of these songs since from I think like early mid 2000s, and it's really popular now. And it's like, okay, who came up with that melody, and does that person realize that now everyone else is using it? Is it just one of those things where they all keep hearing it and so it gets like remixed and spit out? And how different does it have to be if I have a friend who goes to Monet's gardens in France and paints his water lily pond in his own or her own style? Well, Monet did that back in like the 1800s. So like, is that where do you get that inspiration
Well,
from?
and people had painted them before too, so I'm sure there's a certain amount of inspiration there as well. I don't want to belittle obviously the artist's contribution to this
Right.
stuff, but I wondered like, is this just is this a way potentially of us having access to far more inspirations than we would have had otherwise? Like, like maybe, with a when you sit down to write a script and you want to write a horror script right now, why do you want to do that? You want to do that because you've seen horror movies and you want to we often start, especially as kids, we'll start by regurgitating what we've seen. And then the more you do it, the more you build up your own style and it becomes your own thing.
Right.
I sort of, the way I look at the models is they're almost doing the same thing. It's kind of extraordinary to see. I don't think they're alive or anything. I just,
Oh no, and I know I have a friend who he does game design, and sometimes when he's trying to like think of like a new idea, like he does graphic designs, he might put in to an AI several like prompts, not to like have it do his work for him, but to just like get those creative juices going, and then he sees something and he goes, "Oh, I like that." And then he takes it. Whereas before, he might go onto Google image search, put a whole bunch of different like things into the images and try and find inspiration that way. So for him, he's like, I'm literally just putting in the prompts and it's doing the thing I would have done 10
it's
times.
still a tool. Yeah, it's still a tool.
So, yeah, I guess it's how you use it. Obviously I'm concerned about like the environmental effects and things on like, the local communities.
The power consumption is pretty big. Apparently the water's not as bad as golf. I've heard that golf is a much worse at using water than AI apparently,
Yeah.
Little spoken on apparently.
I would definitely say the power thing. I know that one of our local communities here in Lancaster just voted no to having an AI center come in their local communities because they were concerned about all of that stuff, So this is such a big topic, and I'm very cautious about it. I don't like it that much because of my concerns about the environment and the power and people's jobs and exploitation and all of that stuff. At the same time, though, it is still a tool that you could use and utilize to help push you further in a craft. And I see people doing that, like
Yeah. I Gemini, which is Google's one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played with the gems.
Nano
that they
banana?
call them.
Oh, the gems. No, what are the gems?
The gems are you can kind of build your own little AI tool that is kind of set up for almost a pretty specific task. So
Okay.
it's pretty much to kind of just
It's like projects in Claude,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you give it all the information it needs to do the one task really well.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
yeah.
I've been toying and crafting with one of my own at work, and in conjunction with my normal use of Gemini. And my biggest thing is taking in and putting documents I write into it and having it review it. Hey, make this sound a little more professional if you can. Add the
Fix my terrible grammar. That's I do that sometimes.
It's some bits like that.
It's good editing. It's good editor.
It really is. The more I kept using it, the things that it would spit back to me when I would say, hey, help me draft an email about X, Y, or Z for these things in a professional tone. The tone was professional, but it also sounded like me the more it went along.
Because it learns. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, oh wow, this is different. Like this is Interesting.
And the more we give it,
Yeah,
the
more it's
better it
gonna-
is at doing, the better it is at helping us. But at the same time, this is where I get nervous because I go, I'm sorry, this is so off topic, isn't it? I
No.
find this stuff absolutely
We
fascinating.
spent about an hour and a half, a few months about talking about this ourselves. So
Oh,
yeah, we're
okay, good. It's because I feel like it's you have to give so much of yourself to these things. I'm looking forward to the day when we can run these things locally, and I don't have to have and I know that Google isn't going to know that I'm looking up, what side effects of various medications are, that I've been recommended or whatever.
Right.
I mean, that kind of stuff I feel is we've got a system here where we've only got like 3 or 4 companies that can afford to do this. The weird thing is, for once, China is doing open source things, which again are, I'm sure, stealing everything that we're doing for sure. But at this point, I'm like, well, does it matter whether they have it or the corporations have it, or like at this point, it's not mine anymore, anyways. It's kind of interesting to see the difference in approach to these things, because the open source models seem to make way more sense to me. Because when you first start a technology, you're supposed to have thousands of companies all trying to do stuff, and then it competes down until it's got a few that have mastered it. We've started the opposite way. We've got 3 or 4 companies who have the resources, who've got the full stranglehold on it, and these other ones on the side aren't even getting a chance. So I'm really interested to see some of these open source models, and I'm playing with Chinese models as well, knowing that everything is going straight to Beijing or whatever. But
it happens.
Well, yeah, and again, at the same time, I feel like these are problems that will, I'm sure, get solved. Like, we're going to have local models that are very good at doing specific things. Right now, everyone wants their one platform to do everything for them. We're going to have tools like everything. There's going to be one that's really good at editing. There's going to be one that's really good at audio stuff. There's going to be another one that's really good. I mean, programming, it is a dream for an amateur programmer like me. I have programmed since I was we talking about basic. I've never done it professionally. I just love it. It's so much fun. And now I feel like I've got a friend that I do it with. I go, hey, try this. And they'll try it. And I'll go well, what the hell is that doing? And it'll explain what it's doing. And then I go, let's try this instead. Oh, that's a good idea. I am programming in a way that I would never be able to do on my own. I mean, I read the books. I learned so many different languages, but unless you're using them every day, they don't lock in. Now there's a tool there where I can write software that just works for me, and that's extraordinary to me. I mean, with images, I got, when I first started using AI images in my newsletter, I would just have, people would get angry and say, using AI you're robbing artists, and I was like, but here's the thing. I can't afford an artist. There are images in these newsletters now that wouldn't be there, or that would be just ones that I'd lifted from a website somewhere else. It's not, but what I'm doing instead is I'm enjoying the process of creating something that I'm not able to do myself. At some point, I guess there was an artist who said, wait a second, you don't mix your own paint colors? You're a crook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point, where do we draw the line on this stuff? So,
yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I've used it to practice my German because I don't have someone to really speak German with most of the time.
Das ist gut. Yeah.
Yeah, das ist sehr gut.
That's all I got.
Yeah, but so there are lots of really good ways of using it. I think, to your point of earlier, yes, I could make the AI write my newsletter, but I like doing it for myself. And so in some ways, it takes it and you can make it really joyful and creative.
And happy accidents. Right. It comes back to the happy accidents as well. Stuff like you get stuff wrong, and that's what makes it human and fun and silly and.
Right. And so in some ways, I think it will kind of force us out of this idea of constantly chasing perfection, because it's it's that imperfection that makes it human. It's that touch.
Oh, wow. How wild is that? Huh. So you get AI to design something, and then you just spill something on it and go, I made it.
Well, I mean, there are modern. So in some ways, this is very similar to the crisis that artists felt when the camera came out, right?
Yeah.
years and years and years, centuries even, the idea was that you were one of the few people who could look and render reality as it was. So that
And
was the
work
whole
this
thing.
magical technology as well. There was skill involved in that.
Right, and mix your own paints. And then all of a sudden you had a camera that for just after a few minutes could render the world perfectly in a way that no human could. And that birthed entire new idea of what is art. And it started with Impressionism. And then now modern art is much more about capturing emotion and psychology and creating statements out of it. And so, yeah, a
Mm.
lot of us go into modern art and go, well, now wait a second. I could just get a canvas and throw some paint on it, and I could be a modern artist. And yes, you could. However, like, how are you creating that? And,
Mm.
we're so used to having music so perfect and, you know, perfectly tuned and stuff. And now I wonder, and I'm starting to hear more and more people be like, actually, they're not doing auto tune, and they're okay if they
Yeah.
sing a little off key because it's a human, and
Mm.
humans want to connect with other humans. So I'm very interested to see how that impacts like our perception of arts and
Mm.
like whether or not we even want to continue to use things like autotune, or if we're going to be okay with singers not being perfect and just saying, you know what, it's a human and I like it and I like what we sound like, and not
Mm.
chasing perfectionism. It could be a very interesting thing.
And it could be both. I mean, to me, it's a bit like it's a bit like that Olympics for drugs, where they've got this Olympics where you can compete, and they're augmented. Like you're like it's like you could dope, you could do all these other things, and I think it's a bit of a novelty. But there's a part of it that I go like, yeah, okay. So if we know that everyone's just trying to get around the rules, like you have okay, you've got the original Olympics, and you do those, and you can't do drugs, you can't do this, you got to compete with this in standard ways. It's all got to be whatever the rules are on that. Then you have another one that goes like, yeah, see what you can do, and and I think that may be where we're going with this stuff as well, where there's going to be some stuff that's going to be there's going to be some people. There are artists already who say, I am not using AI, I'm not interested in using AI, I'm focusing on my art, and this is my art. And I go, great, go, you do that. You're probably gonna have to charge a lot more for your art because you won't be able to survive on the money that you would be making as a graphic artist now. If this is being done without the technologies like this, then you've got to create a persona about yourself. You've got to you've got to be like an artist, like, or a modern artist. You got to tell a story with that art that sells people on it. Which I think is fascinating. Like, I mean, I can't wait to see what comes out of that. And I think there's going to be, I got to want to see some of that stuff too. You know, I'm like, I'm both terrified and so excited about what the future brings us. I mean, I remember when Photoshop first came out, and everyone's like, "Oh, I am never using Photoshop. I'm a photographer. I don't change the image after the fact." Well, guess what? Those Ansel Adams images. It turns out the Grand Canyon isn't black and white. You know what I mean? Like, they're
Well,
all manipulation. They're all.
you say that because in my photography class, we learned how to manipulate without Photoshop. I had to film and I learned, here's how to do this exposure. Here you use this thing to
Like the
like
darkroom
fade.
techniques,
And all these
like the
darkroom techniques.
dodging and the burning and all that stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then people are like, I'm not using Photoshop. I'm like, literally, it's just the darkroom techniques on a computer. I don't know why you're even a little bit upset right now.
Yeah.
And they talk about like, oh, the Victorians didn't do that. Oh my gosh, did they Photoshop their
Yeah.
pictures? I mean, they did it with the technology that they had, but it was
Yeah.
always there. So in some ways we can look at a technology and be like, oh, this is terrible. But in other ways you'd be like, well, I mean, we've kind of been here before, people, and we've
Mm.
had a very interesting adaptation. Did we lose jobs at the time? Yes. And the question
Probably.
always, yeah, oh, there's always I'm going to say a growth period of hurt.
Mm, mm.
Always, when
Right.
a burst of technology.
Well,
And
podcasting is another one that I worry about because that's, I mean, one of the things that I use Notebook LM for all the time now is if I'm in a rush and want to learn something, I'll dump a bunch of research papers of which I usually read the abstract because that's the part I can understand. Everything else is usually far too in the weeds for me. So I dump it all into Notebook LM. I leave it for 20 minutes. I come back and there's a little podcast that sounds like a bad breakfast morning show of two people talking through all of the stuff in the in the documents at a level that works for me, which is usually I say like, give me like grade 8 to 10. Give me grade 8 to 10 version of this. Because then I know I've got the basics down and it's not too far over my head. And then I can go in and get more and more in depth as I go. It's how I did programming, the same thing. I'd start with like, Python for dummies and work your way up to, specifics. And but I used to have to look for podcasts or shows or YouTube videos or whatever that could speak to that stuff. Now it's generated. I mean, that's extraordinary. That'll be video soon too, I imagine.
Yeah, probably. That notebook
We can't
LM,
afford breakfast.
Yeah. That notebook LM is a fascinating, wonderful little toy. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the world of learning. I mean, if you are truly interested in learning something, I think we're living in a golden age for that.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can learn absolutely anything. You got the collective knowledge of the human race on the internet between videos and science papers and stuff. I'm worried about the amount of slop that's getting added all the time because I think that's going to detract from it. But yeah, I mean, but this was an issue before. I mean, I remember I started my little Tech Bandits thing where I was just teaching kids how to basically do what I did as a kid, pull stuff apart. They had this black box mentality about their Xbox is broken, so they put it out for the garbage. They buy another one. I'm like, are you kidding me? Bring that sucker in, and we'll take it apart. We'd pull it apart, and they'd be, oh, there's a world in here. I was like, that's exciting to me, that stuff. But I'm like, we can't even convince kids to go on the internet and look up interesting stuff. Like, wow, what is wrong with our education system if that's the case?
It's not the same dopamine as a TikTok video.
That's the problem. It's much easier for a day to go by watching men get hit in the nuts and women fall out of their dresses. I mean, like that's
I will also say that unfortunately a lot of times they're now being forced to teach to test because I have I wish Scott were here because he could probably speak to this better than I could as a public school teacher. But I have a teacher who isn't in public school. She's in a private school. And so she doesn't have to do the teaching to test. And so she doesn't have to worry about having this idea of, oh, you need to go get the right answer and just regurgitate stuff. And the project she's able to get her students to do is she's able to spark their curiosity. And I think that if we would look at our education system and spark curiosity, we'd probably have a lot more students who are truly, truly interested in what they're doing. I had this client and he definitely was failing all of his classes and everything else. But then if you put him in charge, if you gave him music, because he loved music, rap in particular, and this kid, he could put together all of this music, remix it, and he was doing stuff with music that I didn't even at first. I was like, wait, you can do this? And he's like, yeah, I just looked it up and did it. So the thing that sparked his curiosity
because they were interested.
Him, and he was honestly, he was a genius with it. And I was sitting there absolutely in shock because, for the first couple of months, it's not something that I necessarily spend a whole lot of time on because I'm in therapy trying to help you with your emotional problems, not to sit there and listen to your rap music. Plus, I was not interested at all in rap music. But was not my cup of tea. It's fine. But he changed that a little bit. He introduced me to some stuff, and I was like, oh, actually, let me give this genre a chance. Maybe I was too quick to dismiss.
Oh, there's some great stuff. Oh yeah, there's amazing stuff. Yeah.
So now I've recently discovered that. Although I'm more into the German rap, which is interesting because I'm German, anyways. But still, the thing that he was interested in is the thing that he was phenomenal at, and I wish that we could do more of that because I wonder, how much he could have learned and how much other students could learn if they just found something they were really passionate about.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, I feel like everyone has a story about. There's this wonderful book called The Element, where they talk. It's a British guy who. I think he was knighted for it, but he talks about how there was this little girl who was having a lot of trouble at school. She was disruptive. She was getting up and dancing around and stuff in the middle of class and couldn't sit still. And her mom is at the end of her rope, brings her to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist is asking whether she should be on medication. Psychiatrist just talks to the mom and the daughter and says okay, look, I'm gonna go talk to your mom outside. What music do you like? I'll put it on the radio. They put it on the radio. They leave. He goes, just sit there. hands, sit on your hands, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. They go outside, and the mom looks back in, and of course the kid's up and running around and playing with the radio, and just she looks at the psychiatrist. It's like she's like, what do we do? Like, how do we do? She goes, wait a second, let's watch. And they watch, and she starts dancing around and doing stuff. They go back in again, and the psychiatrist says, she doesn't have, your daughter doesn't have a learning disability. She's a dancer. That's her problem. Her problem is she wants to dance. That's what she likes doing. So sure enough, she goes off and starts winning awards and stuff. She ends up being Andrew Lloyd Webber's choreographer. That was a little girl who was going to be medicated because they didn't know what to do with her because she didn't fit the mold. And I think we've got an educational mold that is outdated unto itself because it was designed so that we could read and do the math necessary for the various different empires that owned the various parts of the world to pay taxes and do their inventory for them. Whereas now, in a weird way, I think especially with AI now, I think the creative people are going to be. It's going to be really important for people to have like an interesting creative or quirk or a different perspective on things. That's how you stand out.
That is your story about the choreographers reminded me of this kid who was constantly getting in trouble because he was always like tapping and stuff, and the teacher called him up after class and he thought he was going to be in big trouble, and he was like, listen, I don't think you're a problem, I think you're a drummer. Handed him a pair of sticks to learn how to be drums, and then he ended up being in a band later. So, and telling the story of like, if you put someone in a different environment, they're going to thrive, which is part of the entire model of therapy that I work from, which is I don't try to change the child. I never go in with the intent to change the child. I go in to change the relational environment, sometimes the physical environment, but most of the time it's the relational environment in order to then have the child change. And so when I look at, the kids being stuck in these classrooms and things like that, it's like, well, maybe if they were in a different environment, maybe if they were given something to spark them, they would, be successful.
Like I was very lucky because I was absolutely terrible in class. They didn't know what to do with me. I failed all the time. I like to think I wasn't an idiot, but I just didn't have any interest. And, biology is I'm fascinated. I'm a lifelong learner. I love this. I obviously love learning stuff. I would go home and fix televisions and things, but I couldn't do electronics at school because it was all textbook stuff. But I was very lucky. Again, I fell in with a bunch of nerds who were making films, and that saved me. Absolutely saved me, because all of a sudden, all of those weird things that doesn't make sense in the educational system worked perfectly for what we were doing. And I think what right now we rely on these sort of stories of these magical teachers, like, oh my God, they just had a great teacher, or, my son had a really bad biology teacher, so I guess he's not doing biology. I'm like, why isn't every teacher equipped to look for these kind of things? Why are we depending on the luck of the draw when it comes to teachers? Surely there can be some kind of skills that can be sort of somewhat guaranteed. Or a system that helps, sort these kids out, because none of us learn the same way. None of us do. Like, sure, maybe there's a vast majority that can somehow be forced into that educational system and come out the end with a degree or whatever. But so many people aren't built that way, and I think a lot of people in that system already aren't built that way. And if you could have someone who goes like, "Hey, you know what? You like doing that. Why don't we get you doing some more of that?" It's kind of a Montessori approach, I think. But it's although those kids get weird the longer they do it. We loved Montessori, but we were always like, I don't know if we want them to be there for 8 years. Like, it was just like, because by then they were too grown up. They were more grown up than the grown ups, I found. You got to have some kid time as well, I think. So
you really got to balance it. It's an important thing. But then Montessori isn't also for every child. So it's like,
exactly.
That's the fun part of my job, is that I can get the exact same, almost the exact on paper referral, right? Two different families, two different children that look on paper exactly the same. I try to take what worked perfectly in one family and go apply it to this other family, and it blows up in my face. And
no go. Yeah.
When I first started doing therapy, like, I would get so frustrated because I'd be like, no, wait a second. This is how it works. Over here, you play. And then I was like, oh, humans are humaning and they're different, and I need a different approach, even though on paper they're the same.
Well,
So
and we want one answer. That's the other thing. Is we really want one. Like we want like, okay, if I take Ozempic, does that solve all of my eating problems? It's like maybe, except for these issues and these issues, and it depends on who you are. But we want like a clear, specific answer to like, oh, weight loss, you take Ozempic. If you're depressed, you take whatever. We want like specific things for specific things. We want to be able to take plants out of the soil and just give them what they need to grow. Well, it turns out they need everything. They need that whole mix of weird, random crap going on. That's why they grow better. And I think the same thing sort of applies to us as well.
as it turns out, we need soil. They did an experiment where they took away all like the mulch and all these, sanitized the playgrounds, and they started just letting the kids at recess like playing in the mud. And guess what? Less diseases, less, higher grades, all of these great things. And it was just from letting the kids go and be muddy.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I feel like we're unlearning what we've learned. Like, they're dealing with peanut allergies now by giving kids tiny microscopic amounts of peanuts or peanut adjacent stuff, and it's slowly building up tolerance and stuff instead of this sort of complete. And again, I'm sure it doesn't work for everybody, again, because that doesn't work that way. But just that we're beginning to go like, well, maybe the very clear-cut, specific, pharmaceutical only or whatever solutions aren't the way to go. And then of course that spawns all sorts of other crap as well, the pseudoscience stuff. But this is amazing. I feel like we're going to have a very long breakfast.
I think we are.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Do you use AI for summarizing your podcast at all?
Yeah. When I do descriptions, I will type into it like, this is what we talked about, this is some points we hit on, and then it spruces it up and makes it flashy, because I'm not flashy.
It's great for pulling links as well, I find.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I feel like I want to get more of a system down. Like I want to use it more, but I want to use it in a. I want to be smarter about how I use it. I feel like it's a bit random right now.
Yeah.
You could actually put in a prompt to the AI and say, here's the things that I would want to do. So what are some prompts that I could utilize to make this experience better for myself?
I've started doing that. I've started putting in like, okay, I'm an actor. I've been doing it for this long. I'm trying to think about, I want to do something different. What options are there? And all of a sudden it'll write you a resume and you're like, I could do that. I'm like, no, you can't, but you could. Yeah, it's pretty neat for that. It's also, what else I love doing? I take all of the manuals, I dump into a model. And so I know, like I've got a little server set up, a little home thing that I like playing with some Linux and stuff, and I can't remember how the switches work and all the Linux commands and stuff. So I just have one of those little projects. I guess you call them the gems in the Geminis, where I just know I can go there and ask it what the hell's going wrong, and it'll tell me. It's just amazing. Although sometimes it'll tell me the wrong thing and then go, well, yes, that's wrong because whoever told you that. I was like, you told me that. So it does tend to sort of contradict itself sometimes, especially when you point out that it's wrong. But it's it's pretty neat. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was great talking with you.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure. I'm sorry. Well, I should have stuck more to science fiction, but I feel like we're living in science fiction right now.
We really are.
I mean, we're living in a dilemma here. Like, if this is a true battle between, organic intelligence and artificial intelligence. And I think artificial intelligence is more like an alien intelligence than it is a human one. So
Just get ready for Skynet when it comes and takes over.
Yeah, that's true. Who's going to own it, though? That's what I want to know, who's running it.
Unwelcome new robot overlords.
Yeah, exactly. I've always said that.
That we just need a little time, catch our breath, and just see how this, how this becomes part of our life. And there's still things that we want humanized that AI is not going to touch. So
yeah,
what you said is, I don't think we need to be as scared. We should have some concern, but maybe some of the fear is a little unwarranted.
And empathy. I think that's the other thing that I think we missed a lot of this stuff as well, is I think we tend to focus on the technology and forget that, it's useless if there's no one around us. You know what I mean? Like, it's the end of the day, we still need like family and friends and human human contact and human connection. I mean, yes, this could be an AI podcast, but we wouldn't have had this chat.
Right.
Well, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about your shows, which is, yes, it's a science fiction show, but the thing that really made it special was the human connections and the growth that we see in the characters.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm amazing. I can't believe I made that connection without knowing I've made that connection.
Well, I mean, it's a therapist to me. I make connections all the time with people.
That's perfect, Chrissy. You do the work. You do the hard work. I love it. I'll just talk incessantly, and you find some connections that make it all sound make it sound smart.
Yeah, I will help make you look good. Don't you worry.
And I can't wait to see you guys at the con. This is great.
Yes.
Anything I should any specific part of the con that I should check out while I'm there? What is there anything that happens during the run that's fun to be a part of?
You'll
Everything.
be pretty busy with.
There's gonna be a lot of people at your panel. I mean, there's a lot of Stargate fans come to Shore Leave. I mean, there's been Stargate clubs. People dress up in their best Stargate.
Oh yeah,
The
some great
is
costumes.
amazing with some of these guys.
Oh yeah. The guns always freak me out a bit. I'm like, Jesus! Like the P90s that we had. Those were fantastic little. They seemed like toy guns. We jammed them all the time because they were because the dummy shell they didn't.
Oh yeah.
Apparently they work great with real bullets. Not so good
They
with
are.
blanks.
They're very, very fun.
Yeah.
There'll be vendor in the vendor rooms. There'll be tables selling replica P90s and other Stargate.
Will there be trading cards?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Trading cards.
What you got?
Yeah.
There are a lot. Yeah.
I love me some trading cards. I have a problem with trading cards like that. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the let's see if I can I tilt it without knocking everything over? No, I can't. Wait a second, maybe I can do this. That cabinet is all trading cards.
Oh wow!
And then it might have expanded into that closet as well. So it's a problem.
So you'll bring your commander deck of Magic. I'm just asking for a friend.
Do you want to play? Do you want to play a game? I don't really play Commander, but I can. Normally we just play the what is it called?
I haven't played it in a while, but I can definitely dig my old Commander deck out, and we could go.
Give it a go. Yeah, I think we have a Commander deck. God, what do we normally? Hey, Baz, do we play Commander when we play Magic? We just play Standard, right? Yeah, my son. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Now we've completely gone. Sorry, you guys want to do a podcast? When are we going to start? Is the diner still open? I think we closed the diner.
I think the diner is trying to close, but that's okay. We just keep going.
Well, we thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us. It has been
you're kidding? This has been this is fantastic. I love what you guys are doing. This is great. I love that technology allows this to happen. So we can what a great. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed of this when I got into acting in the first place. And now I'm like, why do you want to be an actor? Be a freaking podcaster. This is way more fun.
They say there's some money to be made in it, but I don't know. We don't
Allegedly.
do any of that.
Yeah, tell me when you find it, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I still got to act for a living.
Oh, yeah.
I've done like three or more Stargate Atlantis rewatches, and so I did one last year, and just what a good show. I mean, you guys should have had 5 more seasons. It was
I wish. It was so much freaking fun to do. I without a doubt think I had the best part. I feel sorry for everyone else having did. It's like Jason Momoa used to say, you think it's hard to learn all those lines? Try listening to them. I just had so much fun on that show. Talk about a weird dysfunctional family that was just that was just a giant love fest. They're just the most extraordinary people. I'm so happy I love that I'm going to see Rachel again, because I love seeing these folks again. When the convention seems to be the only time that happens these days. It's like 7 weddings and a funeral, except they're always conventions for us. It's the only time we see each other. I'm so glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I thank God you did, because as I say, it's certainly saved me in many ways. I love that show.
And folks, you guys can all come out and meet Mr. Hewlett here, along with his
see you at breakfast.
Rachel. Yep. At Shore Leave in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, on July 10th at the Wyndham Resort and Convention Center.
It's getting close.
Very
We're almost
close.
like, wow, just over a month away now. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad we did this before then. That's great. Because we were going to do it like at the convention. This is great though. Now now I've got some allies while I'm there. Got my friends here.
Well,
Always.
and if you did this at a convention, we wouldn't have been able to do like an hour and a half, hour 45
Oh,
minutes.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm also brain dead at those things because there's so many people to talk to. By lunch, I'm just like la la la. So
We'll make sure to find you Friday night before it goes crazy.
exactly. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. It's great.
Oh, thank you, sir. This was a joy.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, it was fun for me. My God, at this point, my family's going to come in and drag me off.
I'm
Dad,
surprised my phone hasn't started going off yet either.
Take them
yeah,
for us.
stop geeking out. Yeah, I'll let you return to your lives. Yeah, thank you so much, and I look forward to. I'll have to keep track of what you guys are up to. Who's next? Who are you talking to next?
Rachel?
Nobody yet. We're trying to actually schedule something with Rachel right now.
Oh, have you got her?
Yeah. Not yet. We haven't gotten back from.
I'll give her a buzz and see if I'll say you're all right.
All right.
Okay.
We appreciate
Yeah.
that.
She's great. She's so much. That woman is so freaking lovely. I don't understand why she's not like a mega star. Like she's just both as a personality and and oh my God, ask her about her writing. Her writing's freaking amazing. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love her.
Amazing.
All right. We'll talk soon. Yeah, keep
sir.
posted. Just email whenever. We'll stay in touch. We'll figure out at the very least like a coffee or a drink or something if we can't do it breakfast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Sounds perfect.
All right, all the best. Lots of love, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Cheers.
Good night.
Good night.
Nice.
Hey, we hope you all really enjoyed that discussion we had with David Hewlett here. Seems to be a really great guy. Everybody come on out. Yep, everybody come on out to Shore Leave July 10th, 11th, 12th at the Wyndham Resort and Convention Center in Lancaster. And we will look forward to seeing you there. And until next time, Miles, take us out.
Till next time, good night and good luck.
Leave your tips on the table.
And go boldly.